The chakras on the feet, they're very active these days, among other things. What do these chakras represent? I don't understand something. For me, Kundalini is present all the time in the third eye chakra, but as soon as she wakes up, I feel a huge pressure and tickling on the crown chakra, and sometimes so strong as if I was plugged into 220 volts. This is every time I go into meditation. It's like the whole front of my face wants to pull up with all the force, like a scalp, but over my whole face. I don't recognize what it means. Thank you. Okay. So the chakras on the feet. Yes, there are chakras all throughout the entire body. Right? There are, of course, the main 7 chakras along the spinal column. But even those 7, some other systems refer to 5 or 4 or 3. Right? There's all just many different ways of looking at it. Ultimately, it's all an energy flow throughout the system. And that energy flow concentrates in certain areas along the body, in the hands and the fingers, of course, as well in the soles of the feet. Now, I don't know too much about the chakras in the feet, though I know that they are very real and very present. You may like to look into some of the acupuncture points, I think, reflexology. Some of the pressure points in the feet may correspond to some of your process in particular. You may have to go down a bit of doing some research to see what suits you and fits you. Typically, we don't speak too much about the feet within general Kundalini conversations, though they are very important. In fact, many people will experience Kundalini rising from the feet initially, in particular through the big toe. Even more in particular in the big toe on the left side. Some people experience it like that. So you can look into that. You may even try experimenting, walking barefoot in the grass, walking barefoot in nature, seeing how that helps, if at all. Maybe sitting in cobbler's pose, soles of your feet together. That can be very soothing and relaxing as well. Maybe that will bring some relief to any of your challenges. Maybe that will feel right for you. Experiment, maybe some gentle foot massages, giving yourself some foot massages, whatever feels right for you. I don't know exactly what's going on with the chakras in the feet, but I invite you to experiment and explore and maybe report back if you find anything interesting. So the next part of your question here, Lauren, is, Kundalini is present in the third eye chakra all the time, but then you begin to have some pressure in the crown. Every time you go into meditation, it's like the whole front of the face wants to pull up with all the force. Yeah, so Kundalini Shakti can take up what we may refer to as camp at certain points along the system. So for some, camp is at the root, the base chakra. So she will rise up, do some work, and then go back down to the root and rest there. For others, at more advanced points in the journey, camp becomes a third eye. So she stays in the third eye and then makes journeys between the third eye and the crown back and forth as she's doing her work to make it all the way to the top of the head. So it's a very efficient route. That's why she camps out at the third eye, you could say. As the crown is, getting some work done there, you could say, between third eye and the crown, we can have all sorts of interesting kriyas and phenomena taking place within the face, within the head. So it's very interesting that you describe this like you're feeling this force as if the whole front of your face wants to pull up, like your scalp. So this is a kriya that I experienced where it was kind of like, it's very subtle. I don't know if anybody can see, but I'll try and look at my camera here. If you can see my ears shifting backwards, I don't know if you can see, but some people can wiggle their ears. It's essentially the same thing. It's that movement, wiggling the ears. It's the scalp being like flexed backwards ever so slightly. So this was a kriya that I was experiencing where my entire scalp was being drawn upwards and backwards, and being held there like very tightly. And in my research, I wasn't able to find that type of kriya described in, say, like a Sanskrit term. I couldn't find it. So it's interesting that you're mentioning this here. But essentially, what all of these sort of movements are doing, they're drawing prana upwards towards the crown. Drawing prana upwards towards the crown. That's why the scalp is being pulled back a little bit. That's why your eyes may roll back. That's why Your tongue may roll back to the back of your mouth. You may hold your breath because that causes prana to rise to the top of the head. In some more extreme cases, and I don't recommend that anybody does this actively, but you may be guided spontaneously to plug your nose, plug your ears even, sometimes even drawing the eyes, the eyebrows in and upward with your fingers. So like these are all like known advanced yogic practices, all meant to just help prana to flow upwards, to give that the necessary buildup for the awakening to take place in these higher energy centers in the head. So this is what it all means. The Shakti is doing her work there. It's good to, of course, inquire and get some details on what this all means, and I'm happy to share. And I get curious myself, but sometimes we have phenomena that we don't need to know exactly what's happening. We just need to trust and surrender and say, she's doing her thing. Let her do her thing. Something weird is happening today. Always something weird. So we don't have to get too caught up in understanding every last detail. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. I like to think that a complete fool can go through this process and not have a clue. Just totally just watching, allowing, observing, responding to the impulses to, engage in whatever self-care is necessary. And like that, the Kundalini will make her way to the crown. Very interesting stuff.